Joining me on the program now is somebody who leads the current team, but was also one of the original team members, Dr. Bonnie Robinson. Kia ora, good morning. Thanks for your time today.
Kia ora, thanks for having me.
I think you get points for longevity in that regard, but you've done several things in between. You were there at the beginning. You've done other things. You've come back to lead the team in its next season. Bonnie, firstly though, can you take us back? What was it like in the very early days of the Social Policy and Parliamentary Unit?
Well, it was a very exciting concept. Major Campbell Roberts, I'd known him through some of my previous work, and he came up to me and said, "Oh, I've got this idea for a unit that's going to do really good research around what the social issues are here in New Zealand."
Yep.
And so he sold it to me. And then, as I like to joke, we ended up in a converted broom closet in Manukau. Two very small offices, and so for a start it was just him and me, and
Yep.
then later on we had Dr. Leanne Smith join us as an economist, and it was exciting but also daunting, because we set ourselves the goal of trying to work towards the eradication of poverty in New Zealand. So
Wow.
just a small goal, and then it was, how do we go about that? What
Yeah.
contribution is this unit going to make? And so we really thought that what we could do was provide some well-researched policy and information that drew on the front line of the Salvation Army and their experiences, and then put that into a kind of a wider policy context. But it was very smell of an oily rag,
Yeah.
and it still largely is, but we've got a bit more resources now than we had back then.
Certainly, so much has been done over the years, and such important research, and certainly shining a spotlight on some of the brokenness in our society, and also making some positive suggestions on what good policy could look like in this space. Over the 21 years, of course, governments have come and gone, prime ministers have changed, and some of the governmental policy has also changed. It's a little bit like, pick your metaphor, the tide going in and out, or the pendulum swinging. I imagine that would be frustrating for you and the team. You see some gains and then they're reversed by the next government often.
Yes, it can be frustrating when you see good policies that were starting to make a difference stopped in their tracks, because one of the things we know about a lot of the social issues we're dealing with, they're not really going to be resolved in a 12-month or 3-year political cycle.
Yeah.
They're going to take some long-term commitment and effort to turn them around. And we understand the political realities, but I also think that we do need to start seeing people shifting their mindsets from, our political cycle,
Yeah.
to, how do we actually get traction here? And that's through consistent effort. And I think that goes to people having a vision that these things, such as child poverty, are things that are going to always be a priority.
Yeah.
Because hopefully, whichever political party or ideology you come from, there are some things as New Zealanders we want, which is for all our children to grow up not in poverty and to have what they need to be able to thrive, and for us to have a safe and peaceful community, and for people who have addictions or other health issues that might lead them into difficult situations, to have the support. So we would hope that there's kind of some fundamental human concerns that everyone shares from
Yeah.
whatever political side, and that we could get some consistent approaches. And then I think we start to see traction, because in the State of the Nation, you can see that, you get vulnerable fledgling improvement,
Yeah.
and then policies change, and that drops away again. But if we could keep those policies around those things relatively consistent, we'd start to see change.
And hey, you highlight State of the Nation, which is such a tremendous body of work. And because this has been done year after year, we're able to not just say, hey, this is a snapshot, but this is trends. This policy achieves this result, this one doesn't. So certainly commending you and the team for such wonderful research over many years. moving beyond the politicians, I suppose, we live in a democracy. Our politicians are voted by individuals. Also, the work that you do, I think, is tremendous in terms of changing the hearts and minds of everyday New Zealanders. That if you can change it at the grassroots level, those are the people that vote for the politicians, of course.
Well, certainly we hope that members of the public are making good use of our information, and we do know that our material on our website is looked at by many people, but it's certainly changing hearts and minds is one of the things I think we need to do.
Yeah.
It can be very difficult in this massive information age for people to know, what do I trust? What do I look at? So we do try to be a trusted source of information
Yeah.
where we're really trying to speak the truth as we understand it in terms of the data and what's happening so that people can have trusted information and make decisions based on that.
Yeah.
But also changing hearts and minds, I think, and bringing that Christian perspective where we are called to think not just of ourselves, we are called to think of others and to see in every person the God-given value.
Yeah.
And I think if we look at societal issues and individual people with those eyes of, that God values every person,
Yeah.
hopefully that changes how you think about what needs to happen in society. But it's not just about you and whether you're okay, it's actually about whether your neighbour is okay as well and whether your whole community is okay.
I think you mentioned trust there, and honestly, this is one of the Salvation Army's most bankable assets, that people across society look at the Salvation Army, look at the practical work that you're doing on the ground, and people of all faiths and none, I think, recognise the social capital, the social goodwill that you've built up over many years. Certainly, that's a positive aspect. That's something perhaps unique that you bring to the social policy space compared to other organisations.
Well, I think yes, because we base what we say on what the Salvation Army does.
Yeah.
So I always say that we say because we do. So we've got all these thousands of staff, working and volunteers working at the front line, helping people on an individual basis, working in their communities to making them better. And we bring that information to our social policy thinking. So it is based on reality.
Yep.
At the front line. We're not just a think tank thinking, interesting thoughts. We're going, hey, we're seeing 40% more people coming to our food banks than we saw before COVID.
Yep.
What does that mean? Why is that happening? So hopefully that means people can trust it because it's based in what we're seeing. We're not talking about things that aren't happening. We're actually describing reality and then trying to say, how could we change this? What do we need to do? What are the big levers that need to be pulled so that we stop seeing those many people coming to food banks?
Bonnie, rolling back again those 21 years and that big audacious goal, let's just eradicate poverty in New Zealand. And you and Campbell certainly optimistic that, within 21 years that you would have moved forward in terms of that big goal. But from what you're seeing on the ground, from the statistics coming through, from the things that you're measuring, in many cases, things are worse, not better, when it comes to poverty in New Zealand 21 years later. Is that disheartening to you and your team?
Well, it could be, but I guess we are an organisation founded on hope,
Yeah.
And who believe that the way things are is not how God intended them to be.
Yeah.
And so I always say, who are we to give up? God doesn't give up, and the people who need us to keep going. So we will keep going until hopefully one day we aren't needed, and then we can all have a really big party, bigger than 21st, and go find other things to do.
Yeah.
But sadly, yes, 1 in 7 children right now live in material hardship, 1 in 2 Pacifica. So those stats they haven't risen in recent years, but they're just staying stubbornly high. And I think what's really disappointing is that, currently there's no government plan to really meet the child poverty reduction targets.
Yep.
And they are statistics, but they're also real children
Yes.
who are not getting what they need to be able to thrive. And we know that if you live in material hardship as a child, it can impact the rest of your life, even if the rest of your life goes a bit better,
Yeah.
because you haven't had those things when you were young and developing. So we need to be more ambitious as a nation. We need to not go, it's something we'll do if we get around to it and if the economy becomes good enough, but to say, actually, this is fundamental to who we are as New Zealanders and as human beings, really, that we want to make sure our children don't live in poverty.
Yeah. Well, Bonnie, I just like to say I'm confident that New Zealand is a better place, not just because of the work of the Salvation Army, but because of the work that God is doing through the social policy and the parliamentary unit. I think as a nation, we get it. We're more compassionate than we once were, and that despite some of the stats, we are moving in a positive direction. Those children that were young children when you first started this unit, they are now adults with their own children. But this is something that will to make generational change, you will need generations of work perhaps to turn this ship around. We're not quite one generation into the work. It seems like God has plenty more work for you and the team to be getting on with.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things we are trying to encourage is younger people to get involved in social justice and social policy and carry on the work and keep that going, as I say, until we're not needed.
Yeah, we look forward to that today. In the meantime, thank you for the work that you do. And of course, people can find out more about the broader work of the Salvation Army, including the Social Policy and Parliamentary Unit at salvationarmy.org.nz. Bonnie, kia ora, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks very much.
Hey, thanks very much for joining us in the Rhema studio. Thanks very much for watching the interview. It's kind of nice to have an audience, actually. And if you did like what you watched, then do give us a like, do give us the thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more interviews like that one, or perhaps even better, subscribe and those interviews will come straight to you. Don't forget to turn on your notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.